All right, hello wine drinking people. Today is Thursday, the 1st of August, and that's right, you're looking at your schedule correctly. No events this week, but we're back in the saddle next week, and it is Argentina and Chile. We're going to call it South American month here at the Wine Watch. We always get into our Malbec and our Carmenere in the months of August and September, and we've got some great tastings coming up next week. We're starting at the Edge, our first Argentina tasting, and then Cafe Maxx, an annual event, or what's become an annual event here in the last couple of years, our Nicolas Catena tasting. And Catena Winery, one of the most important wineries, not just in Argentina, but in the 70s, they reached a 20 million bottle production range, makes them one of the largest wineries, not only in Argentina, but in all of the world. And this is a family that's now in their 4th generation. The great-grandfather to Laura Nicolas Catena was the founder and planted the first vineyards in 1902 in Mendoza, and it wasn't until the 80s that they really started to produce quality wines, though. That's when the economy became such that they could actually get out there in the international market and start to sell their wine at a competitive price. Nicolas Catena went to the Napa Valley in the 80s, went to study at University of California, Davis, and visited Mondavi Winery. This is where he had the revelation that he's going to start making great wines. Mondavi Winery was known as the test tube winery back at that time, and that's probably where he met Paul Hobbs. Paul Hobbs was a lab rat there, and thus, becoming one of the most famous consultants in Argentina, and also helping Nicolas make Catena Winery one of the top wineries in Argentina. He decided, after seeing what was going on in the Napa Valley, specifically at Robert Mondavi Winery, that he was going to go home and said, we are going to be the pioneers in Mendoza. We are going to experiment with clones. We're going to experiment with yields. We're going to experiment with barrels. We're going to do whatever it takes to make the greatest wine we can here in Mendoza. And when you're talking about Mendoza, we're talking about Malbec. And the Malbec varietal originally came from France, but for some reason after phylloxera, well, it didn't do well on the American rootstocks, I guess, so they decided not to plant it. And you don't find more than 3 or 5% in the blend in most Bordeaux, but in Mendoza you find 100% varietal Malbecs that are absolutely outstanding, the best in the world. Some people speculate it's the altitude that they have some of the highest vineyards in the world in Argentina, and that helps the skins thicken in the Malbec varietal, and you can make a much more complex wine with just Malbec. And Nicolas Catena's got a few levels here, and we're going to be trying the entry-level wines, and even those wines, the Chardonnay 2011 scored 90 points in the Wine Advocate. We're also going to try their Alta Chardonnay, which is their greatest expression of Chardonnay. And then we've got some entry-level wines for them, some unique wines like the Vista Flores, which is incredible value, 2010, a classic vintage for these guys in Mendoza. And then the Agrello, which is a wine that you usually just see in restaurants. And then we have some more specific wines like the La Consulta and, of course, the Alta Malbec, which is sourced from some of their best vineyard sites. And something I think when you blend different sites of Malbec, you make a much more interesting wine every year. And then, of course, they have their even higher end lines, the Bodegas Catena Zapata, which is in the $100 price range. And this isn't a tasting where we show those wines, but we do throw those into our tastings. You may have one of them here at our Argentina and Chile tasting coming up next month here at the store, which will be the last event to celebrate South American month. Actually goes into September here. Check it out. Everything we're going to be tasting at our Nicolas Catena tasting here at the store. I'm your host, Andrew Lampasoni, signing off for the Wine Watch, saying remember, always drink the good stuff first.